Hi, it's day 3 Mental Health Awareness Week, and just a couple of things that I wanted to mention really quickly today. We know that one of the key factors in people's positive mental health is a strong sense of identity. So really knowing who you are and more importantly than that, actually being able to be yourself and not feeling like you have to pretend to be somebody else. So a really strong sense of identity. I could talk for hours about this, but I think those two key points are really important. Really understanding who you are and not pretending to be somebody else. And the thing that really reinforces that strong sense of identity is the positive relationships around us. And when I say positive relationships, I don't just mean people who will tell you all sorts of positive things about you, but people who will keep you grounded as to that real sense of you. So people who will reinforce the positives, but also people who pick you up if they feel like you're being a little bit fake. So it's those really strong relationships. And I was on a webinar yesterday picking up some of the latest research around the mental health impacts of the last 12 months. And again, just reinforcing that what really came out from that research, and no surprise I guess, but I just want to mention it to you, is the people that have had the worst impact, as a generally speaking rather than specific cases, are those people who are spending more time alone, introverted or extroverted. It doesn't matter. If you are spending too much time alone, and unfortunately a lot of people have been over the last year, then that's going to massively affect your mental health. Secondly, really interesting actually, there's a lot of people complaining that they're really busy, but in actual fact, the other key point in terms of the research was that the impact in terms of mental health from a negative perspective has been greater overall on those people who have been working less hours than they normally would or have been furloughed. Because, and it makes sense when you really think about this, they've been under a different type of stress. So they've had that some added stress of feeling, are they undervalued? Are they therefore less secure in terms of their employment? They've had a sense of their identity, i.e. their work, taken away from them. There are huge impacts on people at a very fundamental level from being told they need to work less hours or furloughed. One of the things that is more important to us almost than anything else from a mental health perspective is feeling like we belong, feeling like we're important, feeling that we're valued, that we're needed. And so if you think about it, it really makes sense that that group of people would have more stress, more anxiety. It's a different form of stress to those of us that have been really busy, but more anxiety. And ultimately, adding all of that up, the research is saying that that's had a greater impact negatively on people's mental health over the last 14-15 months. And then notwithstanding all of that, the biggest group of people impacted from a mental health perspective have been frontline workers, particularly, first and foremost, really interesting, in the education sector, childcare, then general health care, and kind of senior living care and that sort of thing. So I found that really interesting. In a way, when you look back on it, none of this is a huge surprise, but I really wanted to point some of these things out and say, just have some consideration for those people around you who might fall into some of those categories. I talk a lot about compassion. What can you do to sense the suffering of those people? And on the basis of that, what you sense, what you identify, what can you personally do to help them, however small you might think that is? And if you fall into one of those categories, self-compassion, and one of the greatest acts of self-compassion is to ask other people to help you. Ask other people for support. So a couple of things for you today for Mental Health Awareness Week, day 3. Thanks.